Hello, everyone. A warm and cheerful evening to one and all present here on behalf of the whole IEEE SRM student branch. I am Shambhavi Jha, your moderator for today's insightful event on product management, the holy trinity of UX, tech, and business. So it's not an exaggeration when someone says that product management is a skill that can take you to billion-dollar companies. Product management is an amalgamation of strategic thinking, technical comprehension, and audience segmentation. Today, we will be extending our horizons around all the intricacies and elements of product management from our lead guest, Bart Jaworski. He has completed his education in computer control systems and industry safety and attained a PhD in automation engineering technology. He has previously worked as a product manager in esteemed organizations like Idibu, Stepstone Services, and OLX Group, and is currently working as a senior product manager at Microsoft, while he also shares his expertise with every Tom, Rick, and Harry by being a product management instructor as his alternative pursuit. You can check out his courses on the same on Udemy. So pull your notepads out and get ready to be inspired by his professional journey and discover his ultimate secret to reach the top. Please welcome Dr. Bart. With immense pleasure, we would love to share the screen with you now. The platform is all yours, sir. I would like everyone to pin his screen.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. It's actually 2:30 p.m. for me, so it's middle of the day, and it's a pleasure to be here. Our great moderator spoiled a few initial slides for me, so let me just slide through them. As already mentioned, I'm a senior product manager in Microsoft. I'm working on a Skype team to develop the functionality of Meet now, which is basically direct competitor to Google Meet that we are just using. So it pains me a little to be here in this regard using the competitors, but at the same time, it's always good to see how things look for competitors. Because for product management one-on-one, always know what the competitors do, use them as inspiration and insights on what you can do for your product. As mentioned, I started off in a small esteemed startup called Idibu, which moved me to Stepstone, which is the biggest job board in Europe, primarily for UK and Germany, which moved me to OLX, that might be more familiar to you, and specifically OLX Autos, where I was the product manager for the business in Poland. And now I moved to Czech Republic, where I do my best in Microsoft, being very, very happy. So today I want to tell you all about product management. Maybe not all about it, because it took 11 hours of my course to provide all the information I usually wanted to convey, and there's also a YouTube channel where I just put additional materials. So in the next 30-40 minutes, I will want to present you the position. I'll let you know why it's a great career choice. I'll present you the core skills you need to obtain as a product manager. And finally, I'll move on to the career planning, HR bits of it, so you know how to practically get to the career. So without further ado, let's begin. Who is a product manager? There are two definitions I like to give. This is the one that you will probably want to use in any job interview, and it says, like the slide reads, a product manager leads a product that solves a problem using a team of talented individuals and technology in order to deliver value. Now, here are very many important elements of the job. First of all, it's not about managing a product to deliver features. This is called feature creep, and that's not it. That's not what we do. It's in order to deliver value and solve a problem. That's what you need to start with, to know what problem you're solving, and anything else comes next. So the problem solving is the inspiration, and the fact that you are not alone in this process is very important. You need to have around you people that will support you, whether those are developers, engineers, your managers, and all other so-called stakeholders. So people who have any stake in your work are behind you and help you to get through this difficult process. The core of our work is to answer the question, what is the next best thing I can do in my product to solve the problem? And while in layman's terms, it might be imagined as just choosing next feature, next improvement, sometimes it will be something different. Sometimes it will be dedicating time to fix technology to improve the database. Sometimes it will be work to help the marketing department to promote your product. There is always the risk management business of making sure that you get the most value out of your actions, so the product can evolve as optimally as possible. That's that value that is this intangible thing that is very hard to define and has different context in different companies. The bit about technology here is because we want to focus on IT product managers. This term historically can be attributed, for example, for fashion product managers who are in charge of getting the right clothing from the right source and promoting it on the home market. Obviously, that's not the product manager we're talking about here, and none other definitions. Speaking of definitions, I mentioned that there are two definitions that I want to present to you. And the second one, the brutal one, says that product manager is whomever your manager wants you to be. That's because in the industry, there's a lot of confusion what we, the product managers, actually do. The definition you see on your screen right now is the by the book one, but there is confusion when it comes to implementation. And the best thing you can do is to make sure that when you are hired, you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. You know your responsibilities ahead of time, and you make sure that you work as closely with this definition as possible. And if not, then at least you are aware of it and you know what you're getting yourself into. It's particularly difficult when people who are looking for project managers, so people who manage projects and are responsible not to make best product calls, but instead, are responsible to make sure that the deadlines are met, milestones are met, and developers are working in timely manner. You don't want to be confused as one, right? So that's what you need to make sure when you talk to your future employer and the HR department. Okay, so I've told you who a product manager is and what he or she does. Let me now ease it a little bit for you and convince you that this is a great career choice for any talented professional, because it's a great opportunity to develop oneself. Let's start with the fact that it's a good career step up. For very many situations, the path to career, the path to product management is not a clear one. There's not a university course on product management. There are very few junior positions that are around, and I'll come back to it. But this is actually a beneficial thing, because you can be promoted to product manager from very many different positions. I'll get back to it. But if you, for example, are a code developer and you are sick and tired of looking at the code or even managing a group of developers, this is this side career you can take and open yourself to the world of different possibilities. In the intro to this webinar, it was said that it's an ultimate blend of design, technology, and business, and in fact many other things. which means that you need to develop your skills in those different areas, and we'll touch on that in part 2 of this webinar. And even on this slide, this is Leonardo da Vinci's Virtuvian Man, who is supposed to show you how complex and complicated a single person is. And this is what product manager is. He has to have lots of different skills, given that varied improvement opportunities. This is what I mean by the fact that you are being pushed to develop in areas that you are not previously prominent in. You're not too focused, which gives you this kickstarting moment to learn new skills, to know more. I actually spent the last 45 minutes before this webinar, so I can set it up in a way that you can see myself, the slides, and still record it at the same time. And it's like one of those things that I need to do almost on a daily, weekly basis, where something new comes up and I need to learn its start in order to do my job to the best of my abilities. This position gives you a good work-life balance. While there will be days when you'll spend 10-12 hours in the office, there will be also days where only like 4 or 5 hours of work will be enough, and it will be a chill day. You are not in the position where overworking gives you more results. In fact, if you have a lot of breathing space, that's when product managers excel, because they have the time to think about the work, to consider different options and opportunities, and be creative enough to do the job as good as possible, or at least double check and challenge themselves to yet again review their choices and perhaps look for a mistake that can be hidden somewhere and that can lead to suboptimal results. That also comes with manageable amount of stress. The way we work in IT is that it's very forgiving for most of the industries. Of course, if you make a bad decision in a banking application, then all hell can break loose. But for 95% of other different IT products, if an issue is noticed, it's very easy to turn it back, to rectify, just to say, we apologize to the users and move on. Of course, it's not that it's completely forgiving, but you don't hold the power to hurt any of your users usually. So that's also a consideration. Imagine being stressed about the product all the time, just thinking about it, can't sleep. As a person who worked in a startup that had 5 people and every bad choice might have led to close and ending the startup, I can tell you that it's a very important thing to consider how your mental health will proceed for different positions. That's, for example, why I never wanted to be a code developer. It's just too boring for me, and I knew that I would hate this job when I'd spent a few months and years on it. And I did some coding in my life, but it's nothing to the level of professionalism. Now, this is a positive and negative situation, because if you enjoy talking to people, if you like being in the spotlight, that's the position for you. This is where you go in front of high crowds, like I'm in front of you now, and speak about your product, your progress, your status, or simply teach others on how to best perform the duties and what you learned over the time. Of course, some of you may prefer to be on the sidelines, sit in the shadows, but it's not like something that should prevent you from choosing product management career in the first place. As I said, being sociable is also a skill that you can learn. And while it might be awkward initially, and I know it was for me, then in time you'll be more and more comfortable with people, with presenting your awesome presentations, and you'll become very prominent very quickly. But of course, this is this benefit of the position where you are sort of pushed. You are in a situation where you are pushed to self-improve. And when you're in IT rockstar career, that also means that you have a lot of teamwork, that you are never alone with your decisions and what you're going to do with the product. This means that if there's any mistake on the horizon, there are lots of people that will help you see it through to make sure that you are not alone with the responsibility. And if you play your cards right, if you play your cards right, if you have the support of your stakeholders, you'll be making absolutely brilliant moves every time. Just because if you're not doing a brilliant one, there'll be always some brave soul that will raise her or his hand and tell you directly on what appears to be wrong. I covered the teamwork and your team protects you in the same monologue. So let's move on to the next slide, that the job is creative. I mean, that you have an ability to come with very original, innovative positions, that you are always in search of inspiration and new ideas, and they can come from all around you. However, it's also a standardized position, meaning that despite having different approach in different industries, the basics are still the same. It's still unified that you need to focus on solving a problem. You need to make the best product decisions, and similar processes apply when making those choices. However, this also comes with an anti-burnout solution. What do you mean by that? What I mean by that? In many cases, when you have a career that forces you to do similar things many years in a row, you might get tired of it. You might lose your passion. You might not want to do this anymore, even though you are good at it. And for product managers specifically, it's very easy to restart your career by simply switching industry. So as I said, you take your skills that you already obtained and do the same thing, but in a very different environment, with some details being different enough to restart that fire of passion. So just to say, I went from a company that provided IT tools for HR to a job board to a car selling solution to Skype. Everything is different, but everything I learned before that is useful. Everything that makes me hopefully a good senior product manager at Skype has been built up for all those years in the making. It's also a great opportunity financially. You will earn decent money. You won't be afraid for your future, for your housing, and usually those jobs come with very good benefits. And I think those numbers might even be slightly outdated. And also the fact that there is a growing demand for product managers makes these numbers grow year to year, even month to month. Closing this part, it's all about, as Mark Twain said, finding a job you enjoy doing, and you'll never have to work a day in your life. And I must say, for me, it's like this. Of course, I am tired at the end of the day. It's still work, but it gives you so much satisfaction and motivates you so much that it's not just a simple 9 to 5 position that you have to do in order to survive. It's something that you really enjoy, and I hope that if you decide to become a product manager, you will also make it so it is exactly the same for you. So, part 2, core skills. Let's look at what a great product manager should learn in order to be one, to be as good as possible in his position. And some of them are slightly derivative from what I already said, but let me stress them again and make sure that they resonate well with you. So, the first skill I think that is very important for product managers is business acumen. This means that you have an ability to look at your market, to understand the impact your product makes on it, and be able to foresee what impact will the changes you will introduce to the product have. You are able to understand the current trends, you are able to look further into the future and plan to have your product operate in the next 5, 10, 20 years, even if it means that you are aware that the product is in decline and you have to still support the company, the product, and the future and present jobs. So this is the ability of keeping the train of business going. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean you have to do an MBA. Not at all. It's something you can learn by embracing the weird aspects of value and making sure that in time you make better and better decisions and you know your market better and better. Next up comes leadership. As I said, you are in a teamwork situation and you need support of your stakeholders. That also means that you need to be that manager from the product manager term. We, PMs, often don't have our own employees. We work with people focused on technology who have their own chain of command, their own managers, their own head of departments. And it's not like you can say to anyone, do it because I'm your manager and this is my decision. You can, but you'll just grow a bunch of people who dislike working with you, and that won't even be true. Instead, you have to work to make sure that you capture the support of every person that you work with, that you can inspire, that you can make a great speech whenever it's possible, and that you can resolve any conflict within the team and also within yourself. Of course, we are also people that can get angry or do not behave optimally, but it's for the product manager to know better and perform better. Lead by example, so that when people work with you, they want to improve the product as much as you do, and they'll be passionate to speak up, they'll be passionate to offer their point of view, their remarks, and help you get as much voices that will help you get to the right place with your decision-making process. Data analysis. It's very, 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 I can't stress how much important for product managers to be data-driven. Any decision that you make should be derived from some set of data that you obtain, whether it's from research, from competition, from science. I very often check Google Scholar website for data on a possible choice, a decision I wanted to make. And also, since we're talking about science, the great product managers are really scientists at heart. They start with a hypothesis. They set for their product change, and then it's all about proving or disproving this hypothesis using the right experiments. Whether it's an A/B test, an MVP, A/B test is let's just leave it like here. The talking about those would consist of a second webinar really, but it's all about conducting the right experiment to prove what you assume will be the outcome. Also, it's not only about consuming data, but producing it. You will be talking to people who are less technical, and still you will need to deliver the right data to convey the results you obtain, your decision-making process. It's all about not cherry picking, but selecting the numbers that will speak to the right audience. And this is, I think, even more important than being data driven, because, is it the right one? Yes, communication. This is another important aspect of product managers' life. Product managers that are mediocre and can communicate well can elevate themselves to greatness quickly, but the great product managers who communicate poorly can be underutilized and undervalued very easily. Communication comes obviously with leadership, so you can speak to your team, but also being able to choose the right message to the right crowd at the right time. You'll be choosing different words and data when talking to high-level execs. You will talk differently to different clients in different businesses. And also you will have to select different mediums, whether it's an email, a blog, or a webinar. It's a skill. No one gets it right the first time, and you need to find the ways that work for your specific setting, your specific company and product. Obviously, being technical for an IT product manager is sort of important, but it's not that you have to have a technical background. Not all, if many product managers have been code developers before. However, the technical aspect here, what I mean, is the fact that, for one thing, you are able to understand what's going on with the market, but also you are able to speak to your team to understand their concerns. If you hear that the database is slow because the indexes are poorly set up and it will take several days to get it right without disturbing the service, it's good if you understood this sentence and you know that it's right, and you don't do it like Captain would do in an old Star Trek series, where he would shout at the engineers that, despite engineers saying that they need 3 hours to fix the engine, he only has 30 minutes. Obviously, in the core work of a product manager, there will be times where you will need to challenge your developers to do better, but it will be much easier if you guys speak the same language without the need of a product manager to be able to work as a code developer. Not at all. It's just a matter of language, understanding, and being on the same page. And speaking of understanding, you need to understand your users. This is I think the first mistake I did as a rookie product manager, where I proposed my first feature that I wanted to implement, completely not understanding what the clients actually needed from our product, and thus wasting few days of development and making the product more complicated. You have to speak to your users. You have to be open to communities. You have to start polls and let your user base speak and react to it. There's nothing worse than being silent and unresponsive. Moreover, your users are your most important stakeholders and one of the greatest sources of inspiration on what to do next. Obviously, it's also a skill because you might find yourself reacting to a small group of the loudest crowd, where you will find out that they are not the representative of your general audience, but only the people who are loudest. So being able to put the information from your users in the right context is also an element of this. So we now understand who a product manager is, why is it great to become one, and what skills does it take? What skills you need in order to be a great one. Now let's dive into a more practical aspect on how to become one in terms of HR and career planning. There are those unicorn opportunities where directly off the school you can land as a junior product manager or associate product manager. Those are one and the same but different names. And this is actually quite hilarious for me because just a few weeks ago I've spoken to a product manager of one of the product managers at Microsoft Edge browser, who was such a unicorn, who managed to get an internship right off the school and then be promoted to a full product manager. While for me, this road was much longer, much more difficult, and had several setbacks. For her, it was just a job she got directly after her studies, and our perspectives were so different. But yeah, that's what you can look for. But the fact that there is a job advertisement for a junior or associate product manager doesn't mean that you'll get it. It's very desired position, and you need to be prepared to be such a unicorn that lands this gigantic opportunity. So what you should start with is to review your life, education, and career and look for any signs of product management you did in the past. Whether that was a website or an online forum that you run, maybe you had an online blog or you have an YouTube channel. It's all something that has signs of product management that you can show on your CV or during the recruitment process to prove that you have what it takes. And changing those into stories of how you believe those experiences shaped you up to become a product manager is an important factor. We, the product managers, have to be good storytellers, and having a story about a young person that has a career goal in mind and worked hard to achieve it and is on the brink of an opportunity to reach this goal is something that speaks well to the recruiters and people who look for candidates for those junior positions, for those internships. You will also need to polish your CV and LinkedIn profile. The CV in particular is your silent advocate that speaks for you when you are not in the room. So this document should clearly show that you did your homework, you have some experience, even if it's self-taught, and that you are a great material for a product manager. This can be achieved mostly by first-person active narration. No bullet points, no passive tense, and really remember to start your CV with a personal introduction. Tell something about yourself, why do you believe you'll be a great product manager, and leave this small personal detail like you like to swim in the lakes as something to hold on to so the recruiter remembers you. Now, what is obvious? Learn about product management. Read books, take online courses. Maybe you don't need to invest several thousands of dollars in professional courses, but there's a lot of free or very cheap materials that will get you the right vocabulary, the right understanding, and the right clues on what to do in a day-to-day product management life. Obviously, nothing beats the actual experience, but the more prepared you are, the more you will impress the recruiter, the better. So when you get the theory, learn it by heart. Know what those A/B tests and MVPs are that I already mentioned, what are the types, and read about different products on how they evolved, how did they went successful, or how did they fall. I mean, like for example, Nokia, who was a giant in the industry and now is just a part of the shadow of its former self. What you also want to do is to practice typical interview questions for product managers. You will find lots of resources online and ask friends, family to ask you those questions and prepare those answers so they are like 3 or 4 minutes long. They have a good introduction, the body of your answer, and some summary where you present your conclusions, or if it's a success or failure story, focus on what you learned by those stories. And last but not least, and something that actually came up, is try to run a side project of your own. I told you that you should look for things that had elements of product management before in your life. But if you make a conscious decision to create your own product, again, an ebook, an online course, a YouTube channel, perhaps a small program or application on mobile phone, then you can apply a lot of concepts, a lot of practical product management skills day by day, and then learn. And of course, fail from time to time, because you'll be learning, but you won't be learning of the company's payroll, but you'll be getting invaluable experience to present when the time comes. And I know this very well, because I think that the most complete and fulfilling experience in terms of product management was creating my Udemy course that taught me much more than any of the previous careers about on how to become a successful product manager. Okay, so back to our Virtuvian man, because while going through the unicorn route is the quickest one, some of you simply won't make it, and not because you don't have enough talent or skill, but even if you do all that I shown you on the previous slide, any recruitment process is basically a lottery, and you can fail to many reasons that are outside your control, and that's okay. That's nothing to be ashamed of or get depressed about, as long as you realize that each recruitment process is basically a die roll where you have some degree of impact and you can learn from each time you go to a recruitment process. Then you should be set to eventual success. But say some of you already have some kind of IT positions in companies and want to be promoted to product manager. there are multiple ways you can start with. You can be a code developer, you can be a marketing specialist, you can be an UX designer or a data analyst, and each of those positions and many more like quality assurance or client support can lead you eventually to product management. The most natural promotion way is from the data analyst position. Those people are almost junior product managers, but any of the ones I mentioned and many more are inclined to take this shift in their careers. There are also positions that are almost product managers, like the project manager that I spoke about, that doesn't make any decisions, but is very close to the clients, to the developers, and runs the project. So it's just one step behind product manager. And also an agile product owner, which is even more confusing, because if you take the methodology that is Agile Scrum and look at the definition of a product owner, then you basically see a definition of a product manager. But in practice, product owners very often in bigger companies are something of a hybrid between a project manager and a product manager, and there's still a product manager above them who actually makes the shot, and product owners have limited decision capability. But it's very easy then to become a product manager from a product owner position, because it's very similar. But at the same time, it's as challenging to become one to begin with. So say you are in a company that gives you the opportunity to be promoted to product manager. What to do? First of all, and unfortunately I see those bullet points are out of order, you need to make your intentions clear. Talk to your manager, talk to HR, and tell them that you'd like to take your career to the next level and become a product manager. There are two scenarios. You either hear, no, forget it, it's not gonna happen, we whatever the reason. That means that if you really want to, if you dream of becoming a product manager, you unfortunately need to look for a different company that will be willing to hire you on your current position and give you the career track to product manager eventually. But let's be optimists and say that you heard yes, okay, let's make you a product manager. That means that you will most likely get a career development plan that will give you goals to achieve, that will ask you to learn specific skills and work outside your current position for a little while. That might be a situation that forces you to take extra hours and extra effort because you still need to work efficiently and effectively on your current position. But, well, you have to put in some work to get promoted. It's only natural for any position. And if you'd be comfortable with your current situation, then you wouldn't have taken the step, that you wouldn't proclaim that you want to be that product manager. So learn and demonstrate your progress. Help out the sitting product manager in his day-to-day duties. Help him organize the list of tasks, the so-called backlog. Replace him on some meetings that he or she can't attend, or be the replacement product manager whenever the actual product manager is sick or on holidays. And, well, basically grab the opportunity, check whether there are any openings for a product manager inside your company, and whenever you see it, go to your manager, to your HR, and ask whether that's something they would consider you for, because no one is a better voice for you than yourself. And maybe you didn't hit your goals yet, maybe there's still some points in your development plan to meet. However, raising your hand and saying, how about me, is nothing wrong, and you should be able to grab the opportunity when that presents itself. And that's all that I've prepared for you for today. I will be having a Q&A session now, but if you'd like to learn more, I'm leaving links to my Udemy course with a huge discount for you guys. I'm leaving contact to myself to LinkedIn, so you can connect to me and ask me additional questions or additional guidance. I don't usually have time for an personal calls, but I won't reject any question asked to me, and I will try to help as much as possible to whatever queries you'll throw at me. And I'm also posting a lot of additional product management resources on my YouTube channel that has a new video each week. So I'll also leave those links in the chat, so you don't have to rely on those QR links that can or can't work depending on the situation. And I'm here for you. Ask your questions.
Thank you so much, sir. That was an amazing session. Product management is undoubtedly the skill of the future, and every brand needs people who excel in the same. So moving further, Dr. Bart, I would like to request you to advance to the next segment of this session by opening the floor for the Q&A session. If anyone has any queries, you can raise your hands and interact with Dr. Bart, or just post your questions in the chat box.
Okay, so how does a day of a product manager looks like? Well, it's very, you are sort of slave to your calendar and you are the master of your calendar. That means that there will be a lot of meetings in your day-to-day life and a lot of things that you need to do. So when you start your day, you need to look at the calendar and book time to do things that you need to do, whether it's writing a specification for a task or making some research or looking for some numbers. And also make sure that you only go to the meetings that will help you. Because believe me, you will have more meetings that you can attend to, and you'll have to say no to some of them, because otherwise you might find yourself in a situation where you won't be able to do your job. And for me, it's, as I said, usually I start by looking at the calendar. I try to do everything that I need to write, research, or basically use my optimal morning brain power before lunch. And fortunately for Skype, a lot of most important meetings happen in the afternoon or evening, where I can put the brain on lower gear, and meetings are usually like that most of them that you go for, you are passive and you're just there to answer questions directed to you, or look for inspiration that can flow a bit passively to your brain. And pro tip, sometimes you will have to book an hour of your time to have lunch, otherwise you will have to eat unhealthy snacks to survive your day.
Okay.
And it's
So
Bart.
the second question.
I'm hardly a sir.
Okay. The second question is, what makes the startup fail, and what should I do to make myself motivated?
Okay, so first of all, what makes a startup fail? Well, first of all, it is said that 4 in 5 startups will fail. It's always a gamble, but there are often situations where the market research or not understanding your clients is the primary reason to fail. It's not about having cool ideas. It's about having effective solutions to problems. And it's almost like like scientific research. To contribute to science, to have a winning startup, you either need to have a new solution to existing problem that is somehow better to existing solutions, or find a solution to a problem that has never been solved before and is a problem that can be capitalized, and earn you money. And how to stay motivated is by setting yourself goals. If you can have a framework where the goals you set yourself can be counted, can have a time horizon, and that are reachable, this will help you focus your mind on getting the results, because at the end it's the results that help you keep motivated. And also, don't let your negative thoughts and emotions get the better of you. It's a normal human condition to sometimes fail. And if that brings you down too much and you are not able to proceed, then it's pointless. We fall to get up and become stronger, and find that strength in you to get up and to try again. You can do it, really.
The following question is there any key difference of product management and product design and layout?
Well, product design and layout focuses on the interactions of users and your product. This is a section of product management that, for example, I don't think I excel at. I'm okay with doing good flows, but I wouldn't design you a screen that is beautiful. Though this presentation is actually done by me, and I think that's like the epiphany of my design skills at the moment. So having a great product, it's not only about making it look great. It also has to work great, it has to be simple, it has to relate well to your market and your users, and it has to be fast, it has to be delivered on time when the demand is the greatest. So if it's late and someone beats you to the punch, all your beautiful design is for nothing because you didn't win your clients. It's design, business acumen, leadership, and all the other skills that makes a successful product manager. And as a part of those efforts, there can be a product design person who's solely responsible to making something beautiful as a part of a greater whole.
I'll quote the following question. Which is better, product management in a corporate like Microsoft, or product management in a startup which has just started building the product?
It's comparing oranges to apples. It's pretty different experience, and I can't say that something is better or worse. All of them have their different advantages and disadvantages. If you are in a startup, there's much more stress, there's much more confusion and unknowns, and you'll be making many more mistakes on the way. But at the same time, you are the leader, really. You can be the one person that made or failed a whole enterprise or a product or a company. Whereas in a corporate environment, it's all diluted. While it's hard to be well noticed and be the single person that can be an author of a success, I like sidetracking from the fact that you are part of the team and you should be the team leader that always acknowledges your team. It's also a bit more safer because the big corporation can better handle mistakes and can give you much better salary more often, much better benefits, and it's usually much well organized. So it's easier to progress with your work and succeed.
Okay. The next very common question is how to micromanage a product from its inception to its final result effectively.
Don't. You don't need to micromanage. You need to make the best product solution, and you don't want to be in depth with details of how the code works, how the design will play out. You need to surround yourself in a group of talented individuals that will do that for you. You have to only make sure that what they do is the best thing that they can do at the moment to deliver the most value to the product. Micromanaging is never the right way for product managers. Instead, you have to have the right picture, the high level picture. You have to know as much as possible about your market, about your users, and adapt to it. So micromanaging will only get you frustrated and distracted.
Bhavana, okay, as a developer, we are exposed primarily to the technical side of things. How can developers start learning or involving themselves with functional or business activities?
The best thing to do is, like I told on earlier parts of this webinar, to talk to his or her manager and HR and say that it's your wish to be promoted. Start learning, taking courses, reading books, follow your development plan, but also when you know what skills make a great product manager, you can also measure those skills against yours and know where you lack. So you can focus on developing that. Development background is beneficial, but as I said, when you become a product manager, you need to focus on getting the right language with the devs that you have covered, and then we'll develop all the skills that you think are missing, lacking. And one thing that I can also advise is to ask your product manager to find time and talk you through the current backlog. Try to understand the decision process that the product manager went through to decide on priority of different items, and that's something that will help you kick things off and get the brain working in a very similar manner, because that's the basic. That's the part where you need to excel at, and why not learn from the closest product manager there is.
Okay, so one of the last questions is MBA necessary for product management role?
Not at all. In fact, I don't know a single product manager in Europe or US that has an MBA. Every product manager I ever worked with didn't have it, and it's almost very similar as asking me whether the product manager has to have technical background or a product management certificate. No, you don't need it. It might help you a bit on the recruitment process, but in the end, it's the most important thing is to have the right skills, have the right mindset, have the right experience shown on the CV, and excel at the recruitment process. MBA, product management certificates, and technical background are just minor additional points that the recruiter might not even notice. In fact, if you are a developer and you focus too much on your development career in the CV, your CV will be rejected because there will be not enough product management material to go about to invite you for a job interview.
There's a follow-up question here.
Okay,
In India, okay. Yeah, in India, a lot of companies mention about MBA being a mandatory prerequisite. How to tackle this problem?
Well, I guess it's self-explanatory that if you want to work for a company that requires an MBA, then just get it. I might have a different perspective as a European with a lot of exposure to American markets. So, well, I can only humbly say that I might not know how things in India operate. I think I got some experience by talking to some of my students who are from India and got a better understanding. And I now know, which was weird for me initially, that almost obsessive collection of certificates is something that works in India because of the demanding job market, while in Europe and US, the recruiters often don't even get to that section of the CV to review it, because the experience is the most important. However, if a company requires an MBA, it's just another goal to reach, another milestone for you to get where you want to get with your dream job.
All right. Another question. People have not started yet. Okay. Do FANG APM programs like Google APM accept Indian students or grads, or is it reserved for only US grads?
This really depends from the company. I know that getting a visa might be difficult, but also if you are an outstanding candidate and you have great talent, then it's highly possible that companies with huge amount of resources, like FANG companies, that stands for Google, Facebook, Google, Netflix, I think Amazon's there, and sometimes Microsoft being added, they will invest in you if you can if you can prove that you are the right candidate and you are someone worth investing into. There's a great chance that they will. I myself was just relocated from Poland to Czech Republic by Microsoft, and believe me, that required a lot of funds and a lot of effort for Microsoft to do in order to show that after a successful recruitment process, they believe in me and they wanted to put those resources into my move so I can be closer to the office and so that I can work back that trust day to day in the office and making sure that Skype is the medium of choice for our next webinar.
All right, that was great. So thank you so much, sir. That was an amazing session. I really loved all your answers. With this, we will be concluding the event. It would be really great if you guys could fill up the feedback form provided in the chat box so that we can bring more such amazing and informative sessions right onto your screen. And you will also be receiving your certificates through the same. So I would like to thank Dr. Bhatt for sparing his time and taking this session. I would also like to thank this amazing audience for joining us this evening on behalf of the whole team. It was great having you all here. Once again, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, goodbye, and thank you for all the wonderful questions. Have a great day. Thank you.